south, so there wasn't real good access to the property, but you can kind of see, again, what we're trying to do is the lots up in Greenfield. And then I believe you all went up and looked at the intersection at 108, and again, the county highway department has reviewed this and looked at that, and has suggested that they would give us access there, so that's about all that I have.
All right. Is there anyone from the public that wants to comment?
Are you there, Brenda? We can hold on a minute. I'm worried that she got muted. Give me a second to make sure.
Okay, Sean, go ahead.
Things right here. Barry is going to help me here.
Hello?
Is that you, Brenda?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Apologize for the delay.
No problem.
The chair opened the floor to any public comment. So if you have a comment, this would be the time.
Okay.
Read his name to
That sounds great. I'm Brenda Gameray, and I own the property that runs parallel with the field. My driveway runs parallel with the property. And I have two concerns, and one of them is my driveway, when I come up from Deer Lake, it's hard for me to see when turning into my driveway if there's a car coming off of 12 or not. So safety is my number one concern coming up from the lake. My concern is I have a feedlot permit, and I'm concerned that I would lose that feedlot permit if I have 12 or 14 houses next to me when I'm weeding my animals and they're calling for their mothers, or when I'm hauling manure on the field. Those are my two concerns. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you. Is that the only public that we have on the line, Sean?
That I'm aware of, correct.
Oh, great. Then we will bring it back here to the board. Hello?
Mr. Chair, I think somebody's trying to talk. Yes, sir?
Yes, my name is Rudy. I'm sorry, I've been trying to get in for the last 10 minutes. But I have three concerns. I live right on Buffalo Lake, at that northeast corner of the outlet gate, basically. And one of my concerns is, what is the what is the road again gonna be like? Is that an aggregate, is that gonna be tarred? How much is that gonna be developed? And the concern is that the water drainage off of the road and then the other homes, that's gonna go either towards Deer Lake or towards Buffalo Lake or towards the wetland on the north side. And there's a drainage ditch from that wetland all the way down to Buffalo Lake, and I'm along that, and I'm concerned about how much additional water may be coming through there. Second is the lake access in terms of how many, what's the plan for people putting docks in? Is that going to be spread out along the shoreline, or are they going to be putting in like a small marina type dock situation? Because if that goes in right next to my land, that's going to infringe on some of the activities I have, because I'm bringing kids out that come out swimming, and I don't want to have a lot of extra boat traffic right in that area, where mine is. And I guess, the third is, in terms of the city or the sewer septic and well, is that going to remain, or is there going to be some kind of annexation where we're going to have to go into the city sewer and water system?
Is that all? Is that all?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone else, Sean?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, Paul Otto again.
yes. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you. So just to help with that, I can try to answer those questions. The road type, we're still working with the township. It's either going to be gravel or pavement. There's a couple different things we were talking with them about how that could work, but we haven't worked that out yet. As far as city or township, it would stay township, so these would be well and septics. It's not proposed to be annexed to the city. And then lake access is going to be governed by the DNR requirements. We aren't asking for any marina type permit or anything else. Frankly, it's going to be up to these property owners. My client is not marketing this as a lake access. I mean, they're going to have lake access, but he's not marketing it as a marina type situation or docks or whatever. They're going to need to figure that out, and they would have to do whatever is appropriate with the Minnesota DNR for access. So they'd be allowed whatever DNR would allow them. So, and then as far as stormwater goes, we have to meet the state requirements for stormwater, which is rate and volume control. Most likely that stormwater pond is going to be on the west side of that end of the cul-de-sac. It seems is what we're looking at right now, but we would need to look at that further and design it, obviously. So I think that takes care of his questions, unless somebody has something else.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Sean?
Yeah, there was a previous question about the feedlot. That property owner is correct. They do have a feedlot. Look on the site plan very carefully. There's a dashed and dotted line representing a 500-foot setback from that feedlot. So it takes away some buildable area on these lots for the house at least. So that's been taken into account at this time. The county road, there's nowhere else to put a township road entrance. It's not the best spot. It's not too far away from the county road, and it goes downhill. But at this time, the highway department has indicated approval, and then any upgrade requirements they would have for the county road
Okay. Thank you, Sean. I guess we'll bring it back here to the board. Does anybody want to start?
I'll start. I'll start.
Jan has got the floor.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I'm worried too about all the houses are being so close to the feedlot. I know that it will be a difficult situation for new people, but at the same time, the owners that have the right to have for feedlot there should get first consideration on when we're talking about granting the first. I hear quite a bit of noise in the background, somebody crying, and I don't know what that is. But anyway, I really think that this probably is something that isn't being well thought out in terms of the density of the housing, and et cetera. And so I'm going to take some convincing to go along with this proposal.
Okay. Charlie, I think you're the next one. Charlie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe Sean could speak to that because, like, Ms. Demar's is concerned, concerned with the feedlot. She has the permit, and I think that's precedent. I know I farm as well, and I know what she talks about when you're waiting the calves. They make a lot of noise for 2-3 days. And I know what I do, I call my immediate neighbors around and let them know, just so that, otherwise they're sometimes concerned, say, did your cows get out or something like that, so they'll be calling me otherwise. So I get a little phone list and I call through and just say, I'm just letting you know I'm gonna be weeding the calves, which I think is nice, and maybe Brett already does that too, I don't know. But she would not, maybe you could speak to that for her, though, because I think that's, I mean, if I was having a problem, I'd be concerned too that my livelihood might be affected.
Well, Charlie, I don't know if I can speak to your concerns. The best I can say is the most basic of requirements, any house being 500 feet from it, has been taken into account. Now, if houses are built there that currently are not there, will that lead to any conflicts that we see when we have residential by working agriculture, especially livestock? I don't know how we make sure that does not take place.
Is that okay, Charlie?
I guess I was hoping to hear Sean say, if somebody were to complain, about the cows making noise or her spreading manure, I think the comment from our planning and zoning people was that, you know what, to live in the country, the feedlot was there long before you built, and I would think that's what would get said, I don't know.
Well, I think I probably agree with you on the cow noise one. Manure spreading has regulations, but those are the same that are in place, development or not. And I don't think we've ever had an issue with this property. We've never heard Tracy respond. There are issues. So correct, if they were just simply complaints that we moved to this spot and there's an ag operation by us and we don't like it, that would not go anywhere.
Thank you, Sean. And then, Mr. Chair, I did have one more thing, and it was not really brought up today, but it was spoke at our last meeting, and that the access that goes to the west, that connects over with Armitage Street, and I think somebody had mentioned that, to make sure that that does not become vehicular traffic through there, and I think that's a legitimate, maybe, I don't know, a request that it not particular, and maybe, you know, limit it to, like, let's say somebody with a golf cart or a pergola or a walking path. And I was wondering if Paul Otto would agree to some type of a restriction like that, to just say no vehicular, no off.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. Paul, do you have any response to that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe my client would be fine with that. We would want to, I would say maybe limit it to passenger vehicles and trucks maybe, and leave it open for, you know, smaller equipment, lawnmowers, garden tractors. We also don't, I mean, we're certainly willing to work with you on that. We'd have to figure out what that is. And what we don't want to do is have a bunch of kids on ATVs barreling by there all the time. But we'd still like to be able to get ATV in and out if somebody wanted to.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I brought 2 pens down. They're both going out.
Thank you, Paul.
I think
2
that,
run a couple down. Thank
I
you.
don't know if that would be done at this particular hearing or at the subdivision, I guess.
I would,
Almost is probably the time to talk to it, right, Sean?
Well, we don't do the conditions on the rezoning, it would be at the subdivision. I think these are legitimate things to discuss in concept, because if the rezoning goes through, we will be talking about these things.
and I think we got to remember right now, we're just talking about rezoning. I mean, when it, like Sean says, when we start looking at the concept or the plans later, I mean, we can work through that then if it gets rezoned.
The only difference, Mr. Chair, is this is a PUD, so it comes with this preliminary plan laid out. So on a PUD, we don't want to put ourselves in a position where you approve that and say 9 lots are too many. We think it should be 2 lots with no road. So to some extent, an ARPUD is seen as this preliminary layout. All these concerns and conditions that might come up are valid.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Ken, do you have any comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Go ahead, Ken.
Mr. Chair, I had a few inquiries here to make. One we just kind of briefly spoke about is the open space usage. Now, if I recall correctly, the open space was for the exclusive use of the proposed owners of this plant. Now, is that correct? I mean, are we going to have public wandering in there from the west on through Armitage and up through there, or is it just exclusively for the use of the proposed owners?
Paul, can you answer that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This would be similar to any of the other PUD open space where I propose it to be owned in common by all the owners, and shows up on their tax statement. It's private property. They can post it as trespassing if they like.
Okay.
All right, very well. My next question is I would like, Mr. Chair, some clarification precisely on the township response relative to the taking over of the road, and when will they maintain it, and when will it be open to the public?
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, again, Paul Otto, I can help with that. I obviously I don't represent the township. I will try to state what my belief is as far as my client moving forward. Unless somebody from the township is on, they can speak.
Is there anyone from the
I'll
township?
continue unless somebody interrupts me. what we had talked about is that, so the township had stated, that they will take over the road. They are requiring or that all the homes would be built before they would take over the road. At the last meeting, we discussed a subordinate service agreement for this plat that may allow us to pave the road, and these residents would be assessed in maintenance on. The town board, I believe, I didn't see what this board got from the town board, but they did make a motion that they would like to pursue the subordinate service agreement for this plat. So in essence, giving a paved road that my client would pay for, and then any maintenance that was needed would be done by the township and assessed only to the people in this plat. All this with the contingency that we build it to a 9-ton road. The township would maintain it, other than the, seal coating, crack sealing, that type of thing is what we're talking about for this maintenance. The township will plow it and do that part of it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could follow up on that, this is Ken again. Now, does that imply then that the township will be taking over the road? I know there was some discussion about waiting until the last property is constructed with a home, but maintaining it prior to that. Is that correct, that the township will maintain it prior to the last home being built?
Mr. Chair, Paul Otto again. As far as maintenance goes, we did discuss maintenance between the time when the road is complete and when the township takes it over. So I don't know if that would be the township at that point, and any damage to the road would be my client's responsibility, or if my client would have to hire plowing in the interim.
Mr. Chair, this is Ken again. Well, then it would seem to me that it may take years for this development to completely be constructed, so there might be a number of years there. And I'm not putting words into the township's mouth here, but it just seems to me that this could be an extended period of time prior to the township taking it over and fully maintaining it. Correct?
It would appear.
Mr. Chair, Paul Otto again. That may be correct, but as far as the risk is really my client's. He's got to disclose that to these owners. He's going to have to deal with the costs of maintaining that until these homes get constructed. So I don't know really how that would affect the rezoning part of it. It's more of a how do we get it done type of situation, in my opinion.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Sean.
So again, maybe we're dealing with an issue at the rezoning that can't be necessarily attached to this condition. Our limited role in township roads, we do have a basic role. The township needs to accept this road as a dedicated roadway. It sounds like we can check that box. There's a basic standard where they can waive paving in the road. Sounds like we can check that box. If there's a creative means to have extra work done on the road and pave it, I don't think there'd be any issue there. I think our main concern is going to be about the maintaining of it. We've seen developments because of the recession go from 4 homes built into it to not finished for 15 years. There needs to be a developer's agreement on this road and financial guarantees. So I'm not sure where this issue will lead us to.
Okay. Dan Bravender wants to speak. Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. board and Sean and Paul, in our township, we've dealt with this kind of thing before. And I think that Marysville will be dealing with the same way, is that until that road is taken over by the township, it's the sole responsibility of the property owner to maintain it and keep it up. And if they want to hire somebody to come in and maintain it, that's totally up to them. The only thing that we would get involved in is making sure that we understand, or that we're documenting how that road is being built so that we know the base that's under that road and the top that's going to be on it when we take it over. That would be what we would do as a township. As far as taking the road over, what they're requiring here is that 100% of the homes be built, and I'm comfortable with that. I think they know what they're talking about. They've dealt with this before, so that's my interpretation of it anyway. Thank you.
All right. Ken, did you have any more?
No, Mr. Chair, other than I had a question for Sean, and perhaps I'm a bit premature on this, but that there are some buildings on lot 3, block 1, that need to be removed. Sean, how come those buildings just simply could not live out their usefulness?
So again, maybe ahead of ourselves, and I don't have it all laid out in front of me what the issues were, but it was creating a new lot, basically not being able to create new nonconformities. And there's size and setback issues for a small residential lot. I think originally there was discussion of trying to lot line adjustments and attach those to people, but that did not play out. So as far as I know, the property owner was fine with doing trade-offs down there.
All right, very well. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Sean.
All right. Pat, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay. Is there anything else here from the board for any more comments?
Sure.
Dan Bravender?
I just had one comment, and that was about the property owner to the northeast of this plot. He was concerned about runoff. Paul, is there a no net gain on runoff from this property once it's developed?
Did you hear that?
Chair, Paul.
Yeah.
Paul Otto again. Yes, our pre-development and post-development runoff rates have to match. And that goes for whatever area we're going to. So if our drainage areas are split, which they will be a little bit in this case, we would need to put in some sort of a stormwater treatment to slow the water down in whatever that is. So for instance, if we, and as a side note, we have done a wetland delineation, and the northern part of this is probably wetland, it looks like. So there isn't going to be anything up be able to be built anywhere near the lake. As far as ponds go, we can't put ponds in wetlands either, so we would be putting those back. But for instance, if we had the channel, so we have water that would go to the Deer Lake channel, we also have water that would go to, say, the pond on the east side of the property. Any water that's going to either of those bodies of water right now, we have to match the same rates afterwards with some sort of stormwater. Typically it's a pond, sometimes it's a wet pond, sometimes it's a dry pond. It depends on how much water and how much cover is going there. We typically try to take as much of the road to one place as possible, so we can build one big pond that's more efficient than a lot of little ponds. So typically we would take our road and ditch. If you saw the property, you know it's kind of high up by the road. We're going to try to drain it as far as we can towards the north to put it into a pond someplace.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Does anyone else have any comments?
Mr. Chair, this is Ken.
Yeah, Ken.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm prepared for a motion.
All right, go ahead.
Very well, thank you. For this board to approve of the rezoning of the property is shown on concept plan completed by Otto Associates dated July 31st, 2020 to AR, Ag Residential, and S2 and a Rural Planned Unit Development District to the County Board. Because the request meets the intent of the land use plan and there is similar development in the area and the town board approves and the town board has agreed to take over the road as a public road.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Jan?
Yes, I would just appreciate somehow that if I were to vote yes on this, that I would have a from Sean and Dorado that the wetland delineation would allow for 12 septic systems out there for 12 houses. Has that been determined, and whether or not there's any way that we could begin to put in some sort of statement into this motion that the continuation of the feedback is assured.
Okay. Sean, do you have anything to add about the septic?
Well, that's another detail that's at the subdivision phase. The wetland will not be, of course, in play with anything with wetland septic. There needs to be a well location and 2 standard systems on each lot. I think initial information has shown that's possible. Perhaps my suggestion to the planning commission is if this is approved, there's a second motion that would require a continuation to collect information needed for the subdivision. If you want to highlight perhaps specific concerns for that review, that might be a good motion to do that on.
Okay, are you okay with that, Jan?
The motion to include that as Sean described, is that what you're asking me?
Well,
Dan?
yeah, Sean is suggesting on the second motion coming up for the proportion of the plating and subdivision to add those criterias into them, into the second motion if this were to approve.
Okay, as long as I can feel sure that that's being addressed in the second motion, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. Is there any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, we'll proceed to vote by roll call, please. All those in favor?
Ravender, aye.
Welger, aye.
Thompson, aye.
Burrell, aye.
Malberg, aye. Dan Mall, aye. Motion carries. Now do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Chair, this is Ken. I would like to further move that the conditional use portion of the request be continued until November 12th, 2020 for plat/subdivision approval, a time to the applicant to obtain the required information for this portion of the request to also include the viability of any septic sites on the proposed lots.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Sean?
we're not sure about that timeline. So I'm sure we'll get to, that Paul can indicate if that's enough time.
Will that work, Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I anticipate that we probably should move it to December, in order for us to have time to make sure that we understand what Marysville Township wants. Because I think they are just looking at their road design standards right now.
Okay. And maybe along with that, Ken, with moving, in your motion, moving that out, also possibly addressing, you know, the concerns of the feedlot for house setbacks?
Very well, Mr. Chair, that would be acceptable to me.
All right, do I have a second for the motion? All right, motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion on the motion? If there's no other discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by through roll call, signify for yes.
Ravender, aye.
Willer, aye.
Burrell, aye.
Mulberg, aye.
Dan Mall, aye. Motion carries. So, thank you everyone for participating, and we will move on to item number 2. Terry will see if Lawrence Bauer is here.
Gentlemen?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. If you want to give your names, please, for the record, to Terry.
I'm Lawrence Luer. Leonard Luer.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sean, do you want to take it from here?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Planning Commission, this is a property in the industrial park, Oxford Township. Already been developed for one use with a pole shed. The request is we have a new owner and they're wanting to operate the towing business from the property, so we need a new conditional use permit specific to that business. I'll let the applicant describe the nature of what they do.
All right. You want to describe what your plans are?
Yep, basically, we're a small company with an online presence, specializing in the sale of ATV, UTV, tires, wheels, parts, and accessories. The bulk of our business is conducted by ordering, stocking, assembling, and shipping of components in the aftermarket of motorsports. We also have a local presence that accommodates customers in repair, replacement, installation of tires, accessories on ATVs and UTVs. We do some cars, pickups, trailers, and every once in a while some light commercial equipment, Bobcat tires, Bobcat trailer, etc. About it.
Okay.
Don't do any heavy work. Don't do any more. We don't do anything, you know, involving any fluids or anything. Basically, bolting on accessories, windshield on your side-by-side roof, etc.
Okay. Sean, is there anybody from the public?
I have not had anybody reach out on this request.
Okay. If there's nobody then from the public on this request, we'll bring it back up here to the board. And does anybody have any comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
If nobody's got any comments, Mr. Bravender will make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a conditional use permit in accord with the plans and narrative on file to locate and operate a business that sells, repairs, and installs tires for ATV, UTVs, vehicles, trailers, and light commercial equipment along the parts and accessories, along with limited installation and repair within the existing 70 by 72 building, with the following conditions. Number one, proper permits will be obtained for the building prior to commencement of operation. Number two, signage in accord with Wright County sign regulations. Number three, no external storage is allowed outside the building. Number four, change or expansion of use requires a new or amended conditional use permit.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chair, Charlie will second that.
All right, motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, all those in favor signify with a roll call.
Bravender votes aye.
Boulder, aye.
Burrell, aye.
Thompson, I.
Malberg aye.
Mall, aye. Motion carries. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Take this with us?
You can't have it.
For the record, and we'll get started.
Sure. Tim McGuire. I reside at 1872 Jansen Avenue Southeast.
All right, thank you.
Buffalo.
Sean,
And sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, Sean. Can you lay it out for us first?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the property is in Rockford Township. The zoning on the property is R2A residential. It's in the land use plan as transition area. The parcel used to be one agricultural zone property with the title where the laser pointer is on the side of the river. In 2000, the entire property was zoned R2A, so they could get another house on the balance of the property, which was divided off on this portion of the property. Looking back on it, could they have just rezoned that portion of the property and done one lot? Probably. I think the long-range plan was to try to develop the property at some point, and that has not played out. At this time, the applicant is requesting to zone it back to agriculture, to be able to divide this house off on its own parcel. It doesn't meet the R2A standards. It doesn't even meet the ag standards, but as agriculture, a reasonable variance could be requested. And then at some future point, something else might be done with the remaining land. So pretty basic to zone back to agriculture to allow him to do agricultural divisions.
Okay. Mr. McGuire, would you have something to add?
No, I don't think so. The objective is to get the Riverside property separated from the agricultural side of the property. And then we have 2 parcels over there, and the next request would be to combine those 2. And so we'd have 45 acres roughly on the west side of the river road, and we'd have our 8+ acres on the east side of the river road as a separate properties.
Okay. Sean, do you have anybody from the public?
I don't believe so.
All right. We'll bring it back to the board. Is there anyone that has comment or questions on this?
Mr. Chair, this is Ken. I have a question for Sean. Now, the property of on the east side of the river road, right adjacent to the river, that will remain R2A? Or are we looking at the whole parcel going back to A?
Mr. Chair, we're looking at the entire parcel for the reasons I discussed before about trying to subdivide this off. It would need to be zoned back to the agriculture before, and then if there's a division or a variance requested for this, it can be done under ag standards, and any variances or cleanup on this property could also be done. If a person wants to try to rezone and develop it, I guess we'll have on record that at one time it was rezoned as residential classification, but there will be some challenges because of how this road dead ends in here, developing that. There might even be the need to rezone to a higher density classification or even a PUD to do that.
Does that help, Ken?
Yes, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Does anyone else have any comment?
Mr. Chair, if there's no further comment, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Pat?
I would recommend to approve the rezoning of the county, to the county board, the rezone of the property from R2A to residential recreation shoreline, back to AG general agriculture, and S2 residential recreation shoreline, because the word really meets the criteria set out in the land use and the town board approves.
All right. Do I have a second?
Albrecht seconds.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, all those in favor signify aye through roll call vote.
Bravender, aye.
Felder, aye.
Burrell, aye.
And I.
Albrecht, aye.
Dan Malt, aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. McGuire.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, we will move on to number 4, which is Stephen Peterson.
I've got only one person in the lobby, so I'll see who that is.
Okay, thank you, Terry. All right, do you want to give your name for the record, please?
If you are muted, you need to unmute yourself. Should be a little red, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Sean, do you want to take it from here?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the property is located east of the city of Maple Lake in Maple Lake Township. The zoning is agriculture. The land use plan is AR. A few years ago, is this owner applicant. They were in front of you and requested a CUP for a contractor's yard to perform an electric business. The request today is to expand the building, so it needs an amended conditional use permit. You noticed in the staff report that the applicant is scheduling for the township by a day and is scheduled for next week. We discussed the pros and cons of coming to the meeting. We normally don't make a motion with a contingency of meeting with the township. The only thing I would note on this one is existing CUP, a modest expansion, and none of the traffic goes onto any local township roads. And we haven't had any complaints since the business has been operating. I'll turn it over to the chair.
All right, thank you, Sean. Steve, do you have anything to add to that? Or what is your plans?
No, nothing to really add. I'm just looking to put some more storage in to clean up the yard, kind of keep everything clean. Like Sean said, I know you normally don't do a contingency upon township, but I think it's kind of cut and dry. And I think the township meeting is the 20th. Yeah, next Tuesday. And I'm just hoping to try to get something going before it gets too cold out.
All right. Sean, do you have anybody on the public on?
Not that I know of.
All right. Then we'll bring it back up here to the board. Does anybody have anything to comment here on the board? And what is your thoughts about township response?
Mr. Chair, this is Ken. I recall this CUP when it came before us a few years back. And I remember even the city, I think, commented on it. And the township, of course, commented on it favorably. So I guess, long story short, is that I wouldn't have any problem approving this amended CUP without formal township response.
All right, thank you, Ken. Any other comment?
Mr. Chair, this is Charlie. I guess I'm going to support it too. I was just wondering if the owner at least talked to like the town board chair. It would have been nice to talk to the chair or the clerk and let them know what's going on. And whatever.
We did talk to the clerk, Esther, at the township.
Okay, thank you. That's nice of you to do.
Mr. Chair, this is Jan.
Yes, Jan.
I just think that it's a precedent that we don't need to start is going ahead of what the township role is in this whole procedure. I don't question what the county would or the township would agree with this, but it isn't the right thing to do as far as I'm concerned. We should wait until after the township has their meeting and approves.
Okay. Jan?
Mr. Chair, we know the area and the type of building they want to put in there fits with this area right now. I don't see the township having any objection to it because they approved it before for a contractor's yard. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Wall, may I speak to that? Has the township board changed since the original approval was given, or is it still the same? I don't know that. I mean, maybe something's changed in the township that we're not aware of. But I still believe that we owe it to the rest of the community to follow our own rules.
Okay, thank you, Jan. Hold on, Pat would like to speak.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Thompson, is the concern not alleviated to some degree if the motion is contingent on township action, or are you just concerned that
as we make it contingent, then we're sort of shifting the real decision-making responsibility back to the township, which is not what we typically do.
Well, I don't understand what you're saying because you're hard to understand right now, but my concern is just simply our ordinary procedure is to wait until we have word from the township whether or not they approve or disapprove of this. And I would just, myself personally, I believe that we should honor what our rules are.
Do you want to reiterate what you're saying, Pat?
No, that's okay. I've taken my mask off now, though, Jan, and I'll try and be clearer next time.
I guess, Jan, I agree with you. The only thing that I would like to see in the motion as it is contingent on township approval, because in my mind, then we are not, we are giving the township their opportunity to have their say, which I think is extremely important. Also, I believe, you know, they've already approved it once, and I believe that they will, you know, go along with it now. But at least if we do a motion contingent on township approval, the gentleman can get their approval and move forward with it and not have to wait until our November meeting.
Well, I agree with that.
Okay.
I agree with that.
All right, Charlie, you've been trying to chime in.
That was me, Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay, Sean?
Yeah. If Greg was here, which he's not, he would probably bring up the point. Contingent on meeting with the township is probably a valid condition. Contingent on approval, the concern would be, they're not gonna say no, but in concept, if it was denied at the township level, where would that leave a person? They have to reapply?
No.
Because the planning commission has approved things with township denials and denied with township approvals. So that would be the one concern.
I guess for me on that concern, if the township were to deny it, the approval is contingent on township approval. So if they deny it, then it's not approved. Then can we bring it back here to discuss why they didn't approve it and to discuss what the county, how the county wants to handle it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Greg would probably provide some legal input. Do we put a rider on the motion saying if denied, it's continued to the next meeting, and this will likely not even be an issue anyhow?
Mr. Chair.
Charlie?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I guess I'm prepared to make a motion, and it will just be that we approve it and keep it on them meeting with the township board. If this came to us and the town board recommended disapproval, I'm still voting to approve it. There's no, I can't conceive of a reason why they would not approve it.
Mr. Chair.
Hold on, Charlie.
Well,
Pat?
I thought I had the floor.
Oh,
sorry, Charlie. I thought you were done. Keep going.
Before you make a motion, Charlie.
Make a motion.
Well, before you make a motion, can Pat speak, please?
I make a motion to approve a conditional use permit to allow expansion of the existing shed on the property that is used for the contractor's yard with the following conditions. One, building permits are obtained prior to construction. Number two, septic permit is obtained to move the holding tank location. Number three, the town board, you meet with the town board regarding the request, and any expansion would require, number four, any expansion would require a new conditional use permit.
All right, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair. This is Ken.
Motion made and seconded. Now, is there any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Pat?
I guess I don't particularly like changing this over from contingent upon approval to contingent upon meeting with it, despite the fact I understand Commissioner Burrell's perspective that he cannot conceive of a reason why there would be a denial. That, if you turn that around, if there were a denial, inconceivable as though it may be to you, Commissioner Burrell, then I'd be concerned that we had overlooked something in what we were doing and then lost the opportunity to, I don't know, dictate the outcome of this. And by changing or by including the language to just be meeting with them, although Mr. Kreiser might have an opinion on it, we've, I don't know, cast that in stone, and I don't think we needed to, but that's just my comment on it.
All right. Is there any other discussion? There's no other discussion. We'll proceed with the roll call vote. All those in favor?
Ravender, aye.
Felder, aye.
Burrell, aye.
Wilson, no.
Malberg, aye.
Mall, aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you. So contingent upon approval, or how's that work?
Yeah, you need to meet with the township.
You need to meet with the township.
Just let them know what you're doing. That's basically it. And tell them that we apologize for if we stepped on their toes.
Yeah, I would encourage you to get at the meeting to get their approval and to send in their normal form. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, we'll move on to number 5, which is Peter Lampy. All right, do you want to give your name to Terry for the record, please?
Yeah, my name's Peter Lampy.
All right, Sean, whenever you're ready.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Planning Commission, the property is in Monticello Township. The zoning is agriculture, and the land use plan is as residential. There's one entitlement on the property, and it's being used by an existing house. The request is to rezone that portion south of the road, agriculture residential, allowing one more house. The existing house would be subdivided off onto a 1.2 acre parcel, which could be done in theory administratively, if that was the only part of the request. They were just dividing off the house and leaving the remainder restricted, and to do that administratively. So just being done as one package, we're looking at everything. If we're approved on the rezoning, the request then would be to have this one new AR lot, the division, and then the remnant parcel of the large agricultural lot left tied to the AR lot. Any future subdivisions of properties would be contingent on either adding to this ag parcel to meet standards, or in theory, it could be tied to an adjoining property owner. That's all I have at this time.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's exactly right.
I guess my question for you would be, why are you not tying it all together? Why are you leaving a piece agricultural on the other side and not rezoning that piece all as one?
So that was the recommendation from the county. So my request is just, I'm looking to purchase this piece of property. Okay. And the A-frame is pretty small, and I don't know really a good way to add on to it. So I'm hoping to buy it you know, subdivide it like such and then build a new house on the new piece.
I guess, Sean, or maybe you can help me. Why are we not adding across the road? Why are we leaving that piece agricultural, that little sliver, and the remainder of it is AR?
Correct, Mr. Chair. That portion is zoned agricultural now and tied to the big piece, it is what it is. If it's rezoned to AR, the concern is about the standards on a new lot. Are we stretching the interpretation, saying we're leaving that ag piece tied to the piece south of the road, and it is what it is? Even though they're dividing off the existing house, I guess I'm leaving that to the planning commission. If they're comfortable with just rezoning this AR and leaving it tied here instead of tying over here and then not being contiguous. So to allow that, we need to leave this piece zoned agriculture.
Okay. Do you have anybody from the public on this, Sean?
We've had some comments and there's some minutes in the staff report, but I don't see anybody has followed up by calling in.
Okay.
Some of the concerns focused on the lake shore, not clear cutting it, doing land alteration. Apparently there's some sensitive vegetation here. So whatever requirements are enforced now, they would remain no matter what the planning commission does.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Anyone have any comments from the board? Does anyone have any comments?
Mr. Chair,
Go
if
ahead.
there's no other comments, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
If I can find it here. The motion would be to recommend approval of the rezoning to the County Board of Commissioners to rezone 26 acres of the property, which is east of the house and west of the road to the lake shore from AG General Agriculture and Part F2 Residential Recreational Shorelands to AR Agricultural Residential and Part F2 because the board feels it meets the criteria laid out in the land use plan and the town board approves.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, start with a roll call.
Ravender, aye.
Felger, aye.
Burrell,
Overguy.
Mall, aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
So do we need some, can CUP subdivision approval continued?
I think we need to finish some land surveying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does somebody want to make motion?
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to continue the hearing on the subdivision portion of the request to allow time for the applicant to finalize survey work and obtain other required information for subdivision approval and for the county board to act on the rezoning.
How much time do you need? We have a meeting.
I got a surveyor scheduled for next week, so I think I
So the
can do November
meeting's
12th.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, have we set a meeting date?
Yes, it'd be the next November meeting.
Okay, thank you, I just did not hear that.
Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, A roll call in favor?
Ravender, aye.
Felder, aye.
Burrell, aye.
That's aye.
Alberg, aye.
Mall, aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Now
guys.
we're good. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
The record, please, and we'll get started.
Sure, my name is John Nicholson.
All right. Thank you. Sean?
Mr. Chair, Planning Commission, the property is in Clearwater Township. The zoning is commercial business. It's in the land use plan as transition area. The property is currently, as you can see in their photo, the request is to improve and do a building and a business operation that I'm going to let the applicant describe. And as you can see, there's a note in the staff report of the city input to avoid the risk of me talking on and on and on about that. I'll let you discuss the merits of the application and the request, and then I can answer any questions about the City of Clearwater's input. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you. John, do you want to add as to what's going on or what you intend?
Sure, so, I'm the owner of R.P. Scott Company in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Sean, does everybody have a full packet of that I submitted?
They do, and also the site plan in front of us.
Okay.
So they refer to the photos you had of the business, but you're probably better off describing what you do and what takes place in and around the buildings.
Sure. So, we're an equipment dealer for parts, accessories, and equipment for the sand and gravel and crushed stone industry. We've been in business since 1976. And we do business in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, the UP. And so this would be our first branch facility, trying to bring our products closer to our customers in Minnesota. And so we purchased both parcels shown here, and we're just developing parcel 1. The idea is for us to have a small office, 700 to 1,000 square foot range, a warehouse of 5,000 square feet. Probably have some outdoor storage that'd be on a rack that would be screened, and then there'd be some equipment that would be parked in the parking area. I don't know what else I'll take any questions for sure.
Okay. Sean, do we have anybody from the public on?
I don't believe we have anybody on to make comments, but if there is anybody on that, the public at this time, please speak up.
Chair.
Okay, if there's nobody from the public, we'll come back here, and Pat would like to speak.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Maybe, Sean, you can just lay out where we're at in terms of the orderly annexation comments in from the city. As I read it, we're still in a phase where authority for the rezoning rests with us and with the township. The city, I don't know if I read between tea leaves, isn't particularly happy that their agreement is still outstanding and would rather we, I don't know, subject this application to the city's jurisdiction than our own, but given the status of things, it is currently our job to make the decision, right?
Sean?
Mr. Chair, Planning Commission, specific to Pat's question, I'm pretty confident in saying the city's position would be this agreement, in fact, is in place. They signed it. The township has signed it. There's an unusual element to it. We attach that to the staff report of having our office require anybody making application in this area to reach out to the city and get a sign off first. Because of that allowance or provision, we're needing to have the county board review and sign off that staff at the county level, that's going to take place. That's been one of the rubs to the contract and reason for delay. So I think that the city is necessarily saying they're against the particulars of this project. It's about procedure, and they want an opportunity to review this with the city council before our planning commission weighs in. If the agreement were in place, we would have had triggers in place to say, wait a minute, we've agreed to this language, talk to the city first and get their input.
Okay, is that,
So the county just has a different interpretation of where that process is at. Sean, is that right?
I don't know if it's so much of an interpretation. I asked Greg about beforehand. It hasn't, our part of the agreement hasn't been signed off by the county board, and it has not been reported at the state.
Okay.
Would an attorney for a city have a different interpretation and say the township and city have signed it? It's in effect. Well, that may be, but we never agreed in principle by the county board signing off that we were going to meet all the conditions of that clause.
Got it. And did Mr. Kreiser provide any advice as to whether if we go ahead and approve it now, we're potentially putting, this landowner in a worse spot or anything like that, to have the rug pulled out from under him if it turns out our interpretation is wrong and the city is right?
I guess we didn't play it out that far. I don't get the impression from either Greg or the city that anybody's looking to necessarily pull the rug out.
Okay, that's fine, Sean.
Any issues overall down the road of this overall concept? I would hope not. So with that said, looking back on it, I'm going to do my best through the office, if this agreement still hasn't got figured out, to identify this situation earlier on and informally do my best to have a property owner and the applicant discuss things with the city.
Fine, thanks.
all right, thank you, Sean. Is there anyone else that would like to comment?
I could follow up on that. My understanding, I had talked to the city earlier, to Anita, about the matter, and more specifically with respect to sewer and water. And we had a nice discussion, but she said it's just too far off for them to consider the sewer and water situation. And so I met with the township and presented our plan at the township meeting, and there was unanimous consent to approve that. Once I was given a copy of this letter, I did reach out to Anita, and we had a nice conversation. I forwarded her everything with respect to our plan and project, and I believe she now has also the township recommendation. She indicated that there was they weren't really opposed to the plan, more of the procedure, I guess. Maybe we fall in between the cracks here in this particular one, but in her letter, she says that, you know, required to follow the process identified in the agreement before development can occur. So, our development would not occur until spring, but I'm looking to get approval so I can proceed with all the additional due diligence that I need, knowing that there would be approval or likely. So I would hope that the county would consider, you know, an approval of the project if you're so inclined, subject or whatever, however you want to make it. It's kind of like an earlier one with respect to the township.
Okay, thank you. And I guess I would like to add in on this. I'm from up there in that area, and Sean has the, I don't know if everybody can see it, but it has the overhead aerial up there. And what they're proposing and what they're asking to do, we already have, the township already has a lumber yard that they'll be adjoining right next to. If you go east of the lumber yard, Danco has built a large trucking garage, and a lot of his trucks are there. You come in here with the type of business here that's being explained to us, it fits in the area. I mean, I understand what the city is asking for and would like to be included on it, but there's some of the things that haven't been completed yet. So I would hate to see an applicant like this have to delay, you know, when the county or this board has still got the ability to permit it, or it's still township property. Granted, it's in an agreement area, but it's still township, and the township has a unanimous approval recommendation in front of us. So, and with what they're proposing, there's already those types of businesses there for that development. And as far as city sewer and water, if it's going in the township, Sean, with planning and zoning, will already be requiring proper sewer and proper sanitation and water runoff. It's in our packet how it's laid out. So as far as I'm concerned.
Correct, Mr. Chair. Again, I think it circles back to procedure, so I might recommend the property owner. I think their chain of command is the city council would actually view this as an agenda at a normal meeting. So if this is approved, I would recommend to the property owner to at least reach out and, you know, do you want them to come to the council meeting or see more on our plans just to make sure, you know, if the building sewer line really is best coming out of spot X versus spot Z, that they can at least provide that input, you know.
Sure, and I would be more than happy to attend or work with Anita to prepare the council that with all the information.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Ken.
Mr. Chair, this is Ken. I more or less agree with your comments. I mean, we've got to look at the surrounding territory there, what's there, the types of industry that's in there. And I think we're all quite familiar with this area, and I haven't seen others being rejected simply because of the orderly annexation not being completed. So I guess my main thought would be, Mr. Chair, that just because the mechanics of government don't run as smoothly as we would anticipate, I don't think this property owner's petition should be simply rejected because of that. Apparently, he has had some action, favorable action from the township. He's already been in contact with the city, and I would also encourage him to have further contact with the city, but I would certainly be in support of there's request.
All right, thank you.
So are you going to make a motion?
Oh, hold on, no, wait. Pat?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think I'm in agreement with all of that. This makes perfect sense going where it's going. I guess my only question, Sean, is would we be better off adding any language relating to this in the motion to insulate the applicant from getting caught up in any of the procedural, I don't know, goings-on that happen when efficient governments all put their hands on something?
Well, on that note, the one we had with the township, it's part of our formal procedures to have township review. And I think that's why we were able to put it in the motion. In this case, the quarterly annexation agreement spells out input for a motion. So if the agreement's not in effect, and we're saying we should not continue this to get that input, I don't think we should muddy the waters as a formal condition. I'm simply recommending, and I think the planning commission is also, let's have the owner continue to talk to the city and provide them all details.
Is that good with you, Pat?
Yeah, as long as there's not something more we should do to protect the applicant whose application should be approved from having to spend more time or money on
I think
it.
it's one or the other. We either continue it for the formal and final process to take place at the city, or if it's going to be approved, I don't think there's a condition that can protect anything.
Okay.
Okay. Jan, did you have something?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is Jan Thompson. May I have the floor?
Yes, go ahead, Jan.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve a conditional use permit to allow the location of Police Parts dealership and warehouse business that will involve construction in 2 phases. First phase to include a 700 to 1,000 square foot office building, a 5,000 square foot warehouse and outside storage of parts and equipment yard in accordance with the plans and narrative on file with the following conditions. 1, shared access along the county property line with the parcel to the west and will need to be permitted through the county highway department. Also, easements will need to be recorded for that shared access. 2, building and septic permits will need to be obtained prior to construction. 3, the final stormwater plan is reviewed and approved by our office, and sewer and water will be required at the time of permitting, since there may be some changes to the stormwater tank. 4, outside storage is limited to what is shown on the plans. And 5, any new use or expansion other than what was approved will require a conditional use permit.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chair, Burrell will second that.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion?
Well, before we vote, Mr. Chair, I just want to thank the applicant for learning something today. I never knew that Eau Claire was French for Clearwater. So.
It is. That's why we picked Clearwater.
That's right.
All right, is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify with a roll call vote.
Bravender, aye.
Holder, aye.
Burrell, aye.
Thompson, aye.
Alberg, aye.
Mall, aye. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. I don't know. Number 7 is Knife River.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, sir. Number 7 is Knife River. Are they online, Sean?
believe so. Holly, are you hearing us? You're on mute and I don't see any video.
Yep, I'm on.
Okay, you don't have to have video, I was just telling you when how we had it. So Holly can hear us and I can hear her, or we can hear her.
Okay. Do you want to give your name for the record, please?
Holly Brisk, Knife River.
All right, thank you. Sean, whenever you're ready.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Planning Commission, this is a jet north of the city of Buffalo. I believe we've done a site inspection to the property previously. The expiration date is coming up at the end of this year, and the request is to amend the existing permit unchanged in the same conditions, other than to extend the deadline for 4 years. You can see the township input seemed to strongly agree with that time frame, but that will be up to the Planning Commission if it's going to be extended and for how long.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to that? From Holly?
No, I'm just here if we have any questions. It's just we're back again asking to extend the permit out longer.
Okay. Is there anyone that you have on from the public, Sean?
No, we have not received comments in writing or online that I'm aware of.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody on the board that would like to comment? Anybody from the board have any comments or suggestions?
I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Chair.
All right, Dan?
I'd like to make a motion to extend the existing conditional use permit to complete the mining on site in accord with plans and description provided by the applicant on record, and to include related recycling, crushing, and stockpiling of concrete and bituminous with the following conditions. Number 1, mining shall be completed by November 1st, 2024. 2, stockpiling materials may remain until December 31st, 2025. And 3, reclamation shall be completed by July 1st, 2026.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Albert, second.
Motion made and seconded. Do I have any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, all those in favor signify aye through a roll call vote, please.
Ravender, aye.
Mall, aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
All right, Sean, do we have anything else that we need to take care of?
I believe Terry put a proposed calendar for next year in your files. I will note we avoided the week before Easter in this proposed calendar.
No.
You don't need to act on it, it was simply so you could have time to review it.
Yeah, Charlie?
Oh, I just wanted to inform everybody in case they heard rumors, but I'm going in Monday for open heart surgery. I have to have, I'll appreciate any prayers.
We will definitely do that, Charlie, and we will be thinking of you. That's not a good note to end on, Charlie.
Charlie, did you vote yet?
No, everything, I expected all to go good, and like I had told somebody, I said I'd rather find out about it this way than the way, a lot of other people do and end up in buried. So.
Yeah.
I found out about the problem early. So.
Well, vote again then, Charlie.
All right.
Say that again?
Vote again.
Oh, Oh, yeah, there you go.
All right, if there's nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, just signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Good luck, Charlie.
Motion carries.
Yep.
Hey, Charlie, good luck.
Yeah, Charlie.
Thank you very much, y'all.